Alright class, so we're going to go ahead and look through the CO.1 practice quiz. I'm going to go ahead and give you some help on making sure that your answers were correct for this. So if you can go ahead and update or upload your answers for the practice quiz, either your online answers or if you did these on paper, go ahead and pause the video and get out your answers so that you can check your work on your practice quiz at this point. So our first question is to identify a segment from the figure. I have several options in this figure where I could pick out any of the segments here. One option I can say is segment AB, and that would be this segment right here. As long as you have two letters in your answer and the bar above those two letters, your answer is correct. So any two letters from here will suffice as long as those two letters obviously are connected. So we don't want to do like ED, but we can do CE, for example. Here for question number 2, I want to identify a ray opposite of BD. So here they have BD as my original. My ray opposite of that would start at the same point, start at B again, and head in the opposite direction this time. So I'm going to label that opposite ray starting with B and this time going towards A. So I start with my endpoint and go towards the arrow, always in that order. Question number 3 asks me to identify the angle that creates a linear pair with angle DCE. So the first thing I'm going to do is highlight here where my angle DCE is. So if I just trace along in order DCE, I can see that that is this blue angle right here. And the linear pair to that, linear pairs are going to look like this, where I have one angle and its pair right next to each other that form a line at the bottom. So where that happens here is just right next to this angle here, and I can call this angle a few different names, but one of those names is going to be BCE, where I'm just following along this angle from B to C to E in order, as if my finger is tracing along those letters. And I want to make sure that I label this as an angle. So the linear pair are these two together, because a pair is two. So these two angles together form a line down here at the bottom, and that's what makes them a linear pair. For question number 4, I'm asked to determine or define the term parallel or perpendicular lines. So perpendicular lines, if I look at my definition, perpendicular lines are lines that intersect at 90 degrees. And they also, so they wanted me to define and then draw a diagram. So my diagram could look like this. Since I wanted perpendicular lines, I want to make sure to include my arrows. And I want to make sure that those are labeled as perpendicular. So in this case, I could have line AB is perpendicular to line CD. Whenever I complete a diagram, I want to make sure that I label that diagram as well. So my next question is asking me to define parallel lines this time. So I want to give my definition. Now looking at this, parallel lines are coplanar lines that will never intersect. There's two important things that I have here. First, I'm saying that those lines are coplanar and that they will never intersect. So that's going to be different. So coplanar lines tells me that I have to have lines that are heading in the same direction. They can't, for example, be like this, where these lines would never intersect, but I wouldn't necessarily call these parallel lines just because they don't intersect. I have to have them be coplanar or heading in the same direction. And then, of course, they will never intersect is the second important part of that definition. And then again, they wanted me to define and then draw a diagram. So my diagram could look like this. Again, they wanted me to draw parallel lines, so I'm adding my arrows. In this case, lines AB and CD are parallel. Now they didn't ask for this part, but I'm going to go ahead and review the notation for this. Would be AB is perpendicular to CD. So line AB is perpendicular to line CD. And then line AB is parallel to line CD. Now these notations aren't going to be on the quiz, but they are going to be coming up in future lessons, so I just wanted to make sure that we reviewed that again. So looking at the back, I want to make sure I have actually several different colors here that I can work with. I gave you different boxes for each question to make this part a little easier on you. But I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to take my different colors, and for this first question, what line, I think that pink wasn't working on the other side, so I'm going to grab something different. What line is the intersection of plane VTU and plane WXT? So I'm going to take and find those points here, V, T, U, are 3 out of the points on the top of this figure. So I'm going to go ahead and color in V, T, and U. I want to color in that whole plane even though they only gave me 3 letters. And then I'm going to take another color and highlight or color in plane WXT. Again, I'm going to take my color and find the 3 points first, and then what would be the 4th point of that box would be S, and then I can color in the entire, and there will be some overlap here, but I'm going to go ahead and color in that entire box for plane WXT. Now I want to look at where the orange and the blue intersect. So if I think of this as a box, to me I have the orange part in the back and the blue on the top of the box, and if I look at where those intersect, it would be this entire part here, ST. So my answer is going to be the line ST. Remember, even though that we are drawing these planes as rectangles, they really don't end, so our intersection will also not end. That's why we have the arrows here. It's kind of hard to draw the arrows going every which way on the box. It'd get a little confusing. We just have to remember that planes don't actually end, so our intersection will not end as well. So here I want to name, for question number 7, I want to name all lines parallel to UV. So what I'm going to do is take one of my colors and I'm going to highlight UV first, and I make my highlight big so that it's easier to see. And then I want to highlight all of the lines parallel to that. So I want them to be in the same plane or heading off in the same direction. And then I want to go ahead and write the names of all of the lines that I highlighted. Now some have a hard time seeing that the orange here, UV, and WX in the back are going to be on the same plane. If you think about parallel lines on the same plane as, can I draw them all on the same sheet of paper? So can I draw the orange and the ST here in the back on the same sheet of paper? Well, yeah, because it's on that same rectangle. Can I draw UV here at the top and ZY here at the bottom on the same sheet of paper? Well, yes, they're drawn on the same rectangle in the front. But when I look at the orange one here in the front and WX, it might be a little harder to see, but if I can imagine a piece of paper connecting the top front of my box and the bottom back of the box, I can imagine maybe a piece of paper lying diagonally in my box. Those two would also be on the same sheet of paper or in the same plane. So all 3 of those would be parallel lines. So I'm going to label them with the 2 letters and the bar with 2 arrows on top. So ST, WX, and ZY. Now the order of the letters doesn't matter, as I could have